Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sales Development Summit 2017, brought to you by InsideSales.com and Sales Hacker. Thanks to both of these organizations for putting together such a killer event where you have over 40 speakers talking about the world of sales development. Today's the Leadership Day. We're going to be talking about how do you lead your team in a way that makes a significant difference. How do we make our leadership style a defensible competitive advantage? And I'm going to talk about coaching today. There's a lot of reasons why coaching is so important, and today we're going to debunk the most common myths. The story is really simple. I'm Rob Jeppsen. I'm the CEO of a company called Xvoyant. We're a sales coaching technology company. We help develop the world's greatest sales coaching systems and world's greatest sales coaches. So there's a lot of things that you can see about me here. Worked with a number of different organizations, led teams big, led teams small, won a few awards around it, but most important, I have had the opportunity to work with sales leaders around the world, with the big companies, the small companies, and I've seen myths show up far too often. But before we get into the myths, it's really important to identify why coaching is such a big deal. As you as a leader with a sales development team figure out what am I going to do to add horsepower to my engine in 2018, sales coaching has proven to be the fastest way to add some high octane fuel to that engine of yours. And you can see this. This is a slide that you want to focus on as we get started. You will expect production to go up in a significant way. You can expect the retention of your team members to change significantly. And finally, you're going to find your win rates going up by over 28% if you get good at this thing called coaching. Now, coaching means different things to different people. And today, we're going to address a couple of things you can do to very, very quickly debunk the myths, add some facts, make sure that you don't go around chasing the wrong things. And to start, I want to ask the question, why are myths accepted as facts? And I want to have you think for a second. Does anybody know what the national animal for Scotland is? The national animal for Scotland. It's interesting when you look at what the answer is, because it's the unicorn. It's a mythical creature. The reality is, back when Scotland was formed, the unicorn was seen as the most powerful, the greatest of these animals with these mystical, magical qualities that did all these things that would help them defeat enemies. And so it became the national animal, and it wasn't actually proven that it wasn't a real animal until the early 1900s, and yet it still resides and stays today as the national animal for a lot of different reasons. But that's the reality. We accept myths for facts, and then we get ingrained in habits. Then after a while, we just say, oh yeah, it's just who we are, this is how we're going to do things. Today, I want to address 3 that are particularly troublesome as a leader. If you can get after these myths and turn them into facts, what you'll find is you can make difference faster with your team than you ever thought possible. So we're going to move fast, we're going to move quick, and I hope that I can give you some things to think about. Myth number 1, great coaches focus on underperformers. It's not a team to look at their team and say, I'll take my stars and I'm going to leave them alone. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to tell them, good job, keep doing what you're doing. And for the rest, maybe I'll scratch my head and we'll figure out, we'll create production improvement plans, or we'll focus on accountability. The reality is, this is a way that some people look at a team that might have 38% attainment and 62% that didn't hit it. And this isn't a number that's that far off. The number of people that have been hitting quota for the last 5 years has been falling fairly significantly. It's not unusual for me to find that a large enterprise team is in the 30 to 40% attainment range. Smaller teams might do better, but at scale, it's very difficult to get much better than high 40s or the low 50s. Instead of looking at them as the haves and the have-nots, great coaches look at it this way. They look at their team in a segmented way where they can say, these are the stars, the high core, the low core, and then those poor performers. And when you start to look at your team like this, it breaks it into groups that have different places in a journey that they're on. So instead of saying, how should I coach my team? I would like you to replace that word with relevant and say, how should I be relevant to my team? Instead of asking, which one should I coach? We should ask, who should I be relevant to? And what you'll find very quickly is, I want to be relevant to all. So our perspective is, coaching is something that you either choose to do or not do. It's not something that you're selective with. We've found that those who say coaching is so meaningful because of those results that we talked about earlier, we're going to find a way to be relevant to every single one of them. And one of the things that you'll get if you do that is, you'll find it's much easier to drive production. Because if I can talk about the stars and what's relevant to them versus the poor and what's relevant to them. Each one of them have different things. Sometimes it might be as simple as changing their activities. Other times it might be needing to find new skills. People that are hitting goal and you want to get farther, it's just about finding the next summit. So that's the thing that we want you to really focus on here is how do I create switchbacks on their journey? How do I help them find what their next level is for them, not what's the one size fits all that I'm doing for everyone on my team. Now, I like to show this. This is a website. If you go to this link that you see on here on the screen, you can actually play a game and do what's your case for coaching. And I would encourage you to go in here and find out what coaching will do for you. Because most of the time people say, I'm just going to focus on coaching the underperformers, the poor, the low core. And if you look, you'll see in each of these cases, those groups, if I got 10% better, there's some significant revenue that I can drive there if I do that. But very few new people get pushed from where they are to the next level if it's just a 10% focus on just that group. What I'd suggest you want to do is understand the value of next level in every case. Individualize what does next level mean for a single person rather than say, how do I just focus on these underperformers, see if I can get them closer? Because what you can adopt coaching mentality across the board and be relevant for every single person. It's a huge difference maker. And in this case of this hypothetical that you see here, this would be worth 60,000 revenue per rep. You should ask yourself, how much is 60,000 revenue per rep worth to you at scale? What's the improvement? What's the revenue per rep improvement that you can get if you adopt coaching? That's what great coaches think about. Great coaches don't think about the haves and the have-nots. Great coaches think about how do I get that increase in revenue per rep across the board? So I'd like you to think about it as a journey. There's a story. My business partner teaches down at Brigham Young University, and he works with a lot of different youth groups. And there was one time where they were going to climb this mountain to this Y on the side of the mountain. As they had some other leaders at the Y, and they had some kind of a reward there waiting for them. And when they said ready, set, go, there was a number of the group that just went straight to the top. And others maybe a little slower. And my partner, Gary Rhodes, had a few that said, Gary, we're just going to not climb the mountain. We don't think we can do what those people do. We're just going to wait in the parking lot and we'll see when you come back down. Gary, as a wise leader, said, no, that's not what we're going to do. We're just going to take a different route. And he took them on this green route that you see here, where they did 1, 2, 3 switchbacks, paused for a minute, and then the smart leader didn't look forward to the next level. He looked back and said, look how far you've come. And this inspired them. And they looked forward and said, let's go to the next one. And they went 1, 2, 3 more switchbacks and paused. And this time one of the kids in his group looked back and said, the parking lot's like a postage stamp. At this point, they did a couple more switchbacks, and when Gary thought they needed to stop, one of the students said, hey, we don't need to stop, we got this. And in a short period of time, in a half an hour period of time, they went from we're out, we're not going to do this, to we got this. And that's the impact that a great leader has. Find ways to be a tour guide, not a travel agent. They're in the game, showing the way, not behind a desk, telling them about a place that they may or may not have ever been. So my advice to you, find a way to show the way. Find a way to be someone that's the guide on the side, not the person who's the know-it-all that says, hey, do what I said or else. Find a way to create a different path for each one of your people, no matter where they are on their journey. And at the end of the day, you can choose to be relevant for each rep. And that debunks myth number 1. We just focus on underperformers. No, we're going to focus on where everyone is in their journey and create switchbacks because that builds momentum. Okay, let's myth number 2. Great coaches, they only focus on closing new business. Okay, we're going to be in there, we're going to be helping in closing. I don't call that a coach, I call that a crutch. I want to play a game. I want everyone to illustrate this point. I want everybody to pick a number between 1 and 10. Take that number and multiply it by 2. Now add 8. Okay, number times 2, add 8. Divide that number by 2, and finally, subtract by the number you started with. I want everybody to catch up. Everybody should have a new number now, okay? Take that new number, and if that number is 1, give it an A. If it's 2, give it a B. 3 is C. 4 is D. 5 is E. 6 is F. 7 is G, okay? Take whatever letter you have, and use the first letter. Use that letter as the first letter for a country in Europe or Scandinavia. For example, A could be Albania, B Bosnia, C Croatia, D Denmark, E England, F France, G Germany, etc. Everybody has a country. Now take the last letter of that country and make it the first letter for an animal you'd find at the zoo. Finally, take the last letter for your animal and make it the first letter for a fruit that you find in any grocery store. Now I want you to sit back now, and everybody should be on country, animal, and fruit. And if you're like 80 to 85% of the 4,000 people watching this on the summit, right now you're sitting on Denmark, kangaroo, and orange. And yes, you may be laughing right now, but really that's what sales coaching is about. It's can we create predictability from what may seem like a bunch of complex things that we're trying to do. And so it's super important that we understand where predictability comes. We stay away from this optical illusion. So as you look at this screen, I hope it feels like it's moving and that you're getting sucked into a time warp right now. Because there's a lot of things that can distract us as sales leaders. Two that are most common. Number one is deal coaching. Helping strategize how we win is absolutely important. It's absolutely part of our job, but it's not coaching, okay? That's deal chasing. Deal chasing is not performance coaching. The second one is a pipeline review. And yes, we do need to review the pipeline. We need to find ways to make sure that we're doing the things that continues to grow the business. But neither one of those are the things that drive behavior change. Coaching is about changing behavior. And so as a result, we've got to find ways to make sure that we're predictive. And so that's why process matters so much. Telling a salesperson or a sales development officer to just go sell more if they're not is like telling a depressed person to just be happy. It doesn't work. You've got to give them something that's a lot more tangible. And as a result, this is why too many of the sales development leaders over-engineer sales. I'd like to tell you there's really only three things that matter. Number one, help them find enough. Number two, help them advance and close enough. And if you find enough and you handle it quickly and handle it efficiently, it solves 80 to 85% of your problems. And at the end of the day, sales stages are for speed. If you have much more than 6 stages, you probably have too many. Sales stages are about creating experiences for your customers and then saying, what's the appropriate amount of time for each of these to take? Almost like a race car driver going through different stages in a race. Now, with that said, if you understand what your stages and your process looks like, what are the activities that lead to finding? What are the activities that lead to speed? We can do some interesting things in our pursuit of Denmark. There's really 3 metrics that you, if you understand, you can really engineer in a way that will be meaningful to your team. The first, are you helping them know how many dollars they need to start? It's their goal divided by their win rate. This is why averages and generalities don't help as a coach. Coaching is about precision, not averages. So if you want to be a great SDR leader, understand precision. Don't focus on averages. Too many of us focus on averages. If you want to help an individual, be precise. So take their goal, understand their specific win rate, not their general one. That will tell you how many dollars that they need to start. If I got to hit $1 million and I got a 50% win rate, I got to start 2 million. Number 2, after I have enough dollars, I need enough deal flow. This is another really easy metric that very few people of us do. Whatever that dollar start number is, divide that by their average deal size. In the case of my 2 million, if my average deal size is 200,000, I need 10 deals. I can be better or worse than 2 million. I can be better or worse than 10 deals. Finally, we need to track speed from start to close, but also by stage. Again, think of that old 80s game that I would beat any of you at called pole position. Each one of those segments is supposed to take 60 seconds. And if you can get through on time, you can earn yourself another 60 seconds. Take that approach to sales development and engineer experiences in a predictable amount of time. You'll be amazed for what it does to win rates and overall cycle time. Now, with that said, I could be faster or slower than my average cycle time. I could be better or worse than, in this case, my 10 deals. I could be better or worse than my 2 million. One of the things, put it into a structure, okay? We can have outcomes versus process. If outcomes aren't what we want and we don't have enough process, meaning we're less than 2 million, we're less than 10, or longer than 90 days, I can say in that group, you got what you deserved. Don't feel bad for where you are. Until we change the process, you can't expect the things to change. If outcomes are weak and my process is strong, here we say we'll be patient. We need maybe a little more cycle time. You're doing the right things. Stay the course. Outcomes are good, process is weak, we say it's unsustainable. I like to say they got lucky. This means that they had either bigger than average deal size or they had a higher than normal win rate. And while that's awesome and we'll celebrate it, we can't count on it being the new norm unless we've done something specific to make that happen. Finally, outcomes good, process good, congratulations, you earned it. Now here's one of the things I'd like you to take away from our. If process is strong, success is inevitable. If process is weak, success is unsustainable. What that means is there's 3 things. Outcomes are engineered. They're not something that you just hope that happens. Outcomes are driven by stages, stages by activities, activities by skills, skills through resources. If you understand that, outcomes, stages, activities, skills, you'll know how to coach. Coaching is not about production. okay? Coaching is about their skills and activities. So a coaching goal can never be close a deal. It has to be do more of this activity or change the skill. If you make a coaching goal about changing activity or developing a new skill, it's 100% in control by the rep. You never want to have a coaching goal be have anything that says, well, I tried, but the customer said no. No, it's you are going to make X number of calls, you are going to take this class, you are going to go to this networking event, you are going to do this. Coaching goals have to be something 100% in charge. If you do that, then you can say, as they get more coachable, the process will change. As the process changes, success is inevitable, okay? Really dive into that. The biggest problem that too many leaders have is they try and coach their reps to outcomes. And if you can make the shift to coaching to process, you'll be amazed how predictable the results come. This is a fast one. Glad you stayed with us this long. Here's the third myth. Great coaches spend equal time with each person. And this comes across being proud of saying, I treat all my people the same. That is a stupid thing to do. It is a huge myth that has caused far too many leaders to struggle, okay? So I just got done talking about setting coaching goals and how they need to be something that are activity-oriented or skill-oriented, not outcome-oriented. If we do that, we can now measure coachability. So if I say I'm going to do these calls and I do them, I say that's a +1 on coachability. If I say something I'm going to do it and I don't, I say it's a minus. If I start tracking that, I can say outcomes versus willingness to change, meaning I set a coaching goal and either I hit it or I didn't. If I have bad outcomes and I don't want to change, I set coaching goals and I'm not willing to change what I do, that's a toxic teammate, okay? That's not someone you need to hold on to. That's not someone that we want to invest too much more time with. If I have outcomes that are weak and someone is actively trying to change who they are, then that's part of our future. Outcomes good, don't want to change, that's an independent. Outcomes good, do want to change, that's a star. What that leads to, if I put my process matrix right next to my coachability, I have 8 types of sales reps. You can see that I have deserved toxic, deserved future, patient toxic, patient future, lucky independent, lucky star, earned independent, earned star. As a leader, it tells you everything you need to know on how you should allocate your time, how patient you should be, and how you should treat the different team members. Each one of these 8 have different kind of goals you should set, different amounts of time you should spend with them, and at the end of the day, it drives the answer to what might be one of the hardest questions. How do I spend my time? I was at the large financial institution just a couple weeks ago, and he held up a call sheet, and he said, these are the 1,000 of calls that happened in our organization just last month. Our president keeps telling me that I need to be involved in more calls. Who should I do them with? And the natural place that people think is just these people that are the poor performers to try and help them out. The answer is you start with the people in the future box because they need help in production, but they also value coaching. The second is not the toxic box. The second is people that are stars. You want to spend as much time as possible with people that value coaching and respond and show willingness to change. If you as a leader can maximize your cycles with those people that value that, what you'll find is you'll see a much more significant return on your coaching time investment. And as a result, you'll create a lot more momentum and switchbacks. Here's where the equal comes. Equal access for sure. Equal time, no. Access is given to all, time is given to those who've earned it. If you have a toxic person, all they have to do is hit a couple coaching goals and they're going to pop over to future, and then you got time for them in spades. So my advice, understand and measure who's coachable by setting activity and skill related goals that then you identify who do you spend time with. Those are the coaching myths. Myth 1. We just look at the people in terms of those that hit goal and those that don't, and we spend our time with those that don't hit goal. We set production improvement plans for those that don't. Instead, have an individual development plan for every single rep on your team. Be relevant to all of them and create momentum through switchbacks. Number 2, choose to be predictive. Instead of just chasing deals, which so many of us do because we're good at it. We were a good producer. I can be valuable by producing with you. Don't do that. Don't be a crutch, be a coach. Help them change their process. Help them get to the point where they're over on this side, where they're future or they're earned, because that predicts what's gonna happen. What happened has happened. What's more important is what's gonna happen, and nothing's good's gonna happen unless the process goes there first. Make sure you only coach for behaviors and skills, and remember, if process is good, success is inevitable. Process is weak, success, it's unsustainable. Which takes us to the final myth. Be impactful, and please, please don't say I treat each person on my team the same. They're not the same. Make sure that you give equal access, but not equal time. Maximize your time with those that will respond the most. Maximize your time with those that value it, and you will become one of those leaders that moves the needle in a predictable way. And what will happen? Those that don't get your time will want it desperately, and they will find that creating a willingness to change is in their interest and not something that you're just doing to them. I hope you enjoy the rest of the Sales Development Conference. And if you have any questions around coaching and how to create a world-class coaching organization, this is how you hit me up. Find me, follow me. We do tons of stuff on social. Use that link to find out what your case for coaching is. And I'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Enjoy the rest of the summit. Thanks to Inside Sales. Thanks to saleshacker.com. And make sure 2018 is the best you've ever had.